It seems not even the Porsche 911 can escape the rise of the turbo. Blink and you might miss the redesign of this new 911, but underneath there are plenty of changes to keep the iconic sports car fighting on all fronts. The main one? The engine. It's smaller and has turbos, 2 of them in fact, so now even the entry-level 911 is turbocharged. That's probably the most controversial change since the 911 went water-cooled, and although that only really upset die-hard Porsche fans, bolting on a pair of blowers might upset a few more, especially those who want noise.
Before we talk about the engine, which is obviously the big change for this 991 Phase 2 Generation 911, there are a few mechanical changes to the chassis that we've got to enlighten ourselves about. First off, PASM adaptive dampers are now standard, so that means the car's 10mm lower than it was before. We've also got a smaller steering wheel, borrowed from the 918 with its design and this new driving mode rotary switch here. That means that the car's keener to turn in because you've got less wheel travel to get the same amount of motion. We've got bigger brakes, and we've also then, brings us nicely on to the motor. It's now down to 3 litres, but with a pair of turbochargers in this Carrera S model, we've got 414 brake horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque on tap. But importantly, with that latest figure, it comes in from 1700 RPM to 5000, so it makes this car much more flexible than its predecessor. And with the sports exhaust, as you can hear, it's pretty noisy inside.
Noise is important in any sports car, but it's an even bigger part of the equation if you're buying a convertible. So we dropped the top on the 911 Cabriolet to see if the turbo engine adds anything to the open air experience. Obviously the engine is big news, but Porsche has also been quietly working away on the 911's look. The headlights carry over Porsche's LED running light design from the old car, while the bumper gets a few new flicks and vents to improve cooling and aerodynamics. Now the 4-dot tail lights copy the headlights too. The interior is pretty much the same, except for a new infotainment system that gets Apple CarPlay. It's much slicker to use. All this extra tech and performance means the 911's base price has crept up. The entry-level manual Carrera now costs £76,412. And if you want a Carrera S with the PDK gearbox, that'll be £88,245. It's on sale now if you've got the cash to put down, and if you have, why wouldn't you? The new 911 is leaner, meaner and greener than before. It's better to drive with more grip and more go. But even though the turbo engine makes it easier to drive quickly, the fireworks in the last few hundred revs, where the old 911 really sang, have gone. We'll miss that, but there's no need to be too sad. Porsche is right at the top of its game with the new 911. Click on the video windows to watch our review of the McLaren 570S and the Ferrari 488 Spider. Click on the play icon to watch our latest review and on our logo to subscribe.